Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Saturday, the 15th of May. Continuing to follow McShane's readings, today we're reading Numbers chapter 24. And it's an interesting little passage. It continues on with the story of Balaam, called to curse Israel, and he says, I can only do what God allows me to do, and he blesses Israel. And the chapter starts, Now when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not resort to sorcery as at other times, but turned his face toward the desert. When Balaam looked out and saw Israel encamped tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came upon him, and he uttered this oracle. So he sees Israel, and then the Spirit fills him, and he says the following. And the oracle was, How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. Like valleys they spread out, like gardens beside a river, like aloes planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the waters. Water will flow from their buckets. Their seed will have abundant water. And what struck me was, as he looked out, that was not what he saw, because what he saw was Israel encamped in a wilderness. But because the Spirit was on him, he saw the potential. He saw what God was going to do with those people. He saw what was going to become, not what was at that specific point. And that took me back to the Israelites a little earlier, where they looked at their situation and they spoke against Moses and said, Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to die in this desert? There's no bread, no water, we detest this food. And time and again they thought, let's rather go back to Egypt rather than go on to the promised land. And it struck me that sometimes we get caught up in the present. And we look at the world, and we look at the church, and we look at our lives, and we can become quite despondent, and it doesn't look like there's anything other than bad going to come of it. And at that point we need to be praying to be like Balaam and say, God, open our eyes that we can see what you're doing and what your potential is. Help us to see that. And then we need to say, God, work in us, that we can be part of moving this situation forward to this promised abundance which lies ahead. So ask God to open your eyes to see what can be, what God can do in us and through us and with us, and ask God to give you his Spirit to enable you to become part of the process of moving forward to that promised land. Be encouraged as you do this, and know that as we move, we will be blessed.